In this unit, we will learn how to create new layers, how to work with them, and why they are so useful. Let me show you. The layers could be represented by books. We have a stack of books, so you can see it from the side and see all the spines of them. But when you check the stack of books from the top, you just see parts of them. So you see the first book as a whole, and then just parts of the second, the third, and so on. Correspondingly, the layers work in the same way. You have a stack of layers that they have different objects, different graphics, one on top of the other. The one that is on top is hiding parts from one underneath. So imagine like having the first layer, the first book with a background color, and then the second book having some trees or some buildings or any kind of environment or any other objects, and then another book, another layer with a main character illustration. As a result, you will be able to see the background color and then the background graphics, such as like the buildings and the trees, and then your character and so on. In this principle, you can actually work and have the different assets on different layers and be able to easily select them, hide them, amend them. So let's jump back to that graphic that we created in order to create a pattern out of it. We're gonna go to Window and then select Layers. You will see that all the assets are actually just on one layer. If you click on the little arrow here, you will be able to see all of the assets that this layer actually contains. You can also see the name of the layer, which you can easily amend just by double clicking. So I'm gonna call it Shapes instead and press Enter to apply the new name. And you have a few other indicators such as like this little circle here, which is the target column and indicates whether the items are targeted for application of effects and edit attributes and the appearance panel. You have also next to it a little space, which you will see if I click also. I have the selection column, which indicates whether items are selected or not. If I click on that, I can select all of the items. If I click on any item on my canvas, you'll see that it's enabled because it indicates that my item is selected. Something else that you can do is hide and reveal your layer by clicking on this little eye icon next to it. And you can also lock it by clicking on this empty box right next to the eye. And you see now unable to select anything or amend it and so on. I'm gonna go ahead and unlock it again so I'm able to amend it. Another thing that you will notice is when you select your object, you have this kind of line indicating you the grid, indicating you the edges of your shape. And it's actually blue color, which especially in this occasion here, it's really uncomfy since I can't really see the lines really clearly. And the anchor points are almost the same color with the color of the shape. In order to change them, you double click on this thumbnail next to the shapes. From the color option, you can switch them to any kind of color. So let's go with magenta, press OK, and here we go. You can easily see where the anchor points are. On that panel here, you saw that it has some extra options such as like the template option, which allows you to make the layer a template layer. It allows you to lock and unlock your layer, to show the layer, so display all the artwork which is contained on this artboard, to make it printable or not, to enable the preview, which displays the artwork contained in the layer in color instead of outlines, and to dim the images, so it reduces the intensity of any images contained on your artwork to the specified percentage. Usually you won't really need to amend any of those options, but it's good to always name your layer and select a color which helps you in case that you have a random one that is matching your colors of your artwork and it's hard to see. Let's see now how we can actually create more layers and how we can actually use them effectively. If I'm gonna click the create new layer icon here at the bottom of my panel, it's gonna add a new layer. And I can go ahead, for example, and select the background, go edit, cut, select the layer that I want to transfer it at, and go Edit, Paste. Move it at exactly the same position, or what I could do is go Edit, Paste in Place, and paste it exactly in the same position on a new layer. I'm gonna go ahead and call it Background. Press Enter to apply the new name. Now I actually want it to be behind the shapes, not above the shapes. So what I need to do is select it and drag it underneath the shapes layer. Another thing that I want to do is to separate those small shapes here so I can easily select them and modify them if I want to. Firstly, it will be good to lock the background layer so it doesn't bother me when I'm selecting. And then I'm gonna go ahead and select all those small shapes by clicking on them while holding the Shift key down to add all of them on my selection. Now I'm gonna go ahead, Edit, Cut, create a new layer above, Edit, Paste in Place. I'm gonna call it Small Shapes. You see now how easily I can actually lock the main shapes layer and be able to select any of the small ones without selecting by mistake any of the others. Another thing that I can do is hide this layer and check how my illustration looks with or without those small shapes, let's say. What I can also do is create another layer, for example, and try a different background color. Let's try perhaps a light blue instead. So I'm gonna call it background 2. I can easily check how my illustration looks with some kind of different options by hiding and revealing the layers. Let's say I decided I'm gonna go with that layer, so I don't really need anymore the background 2 option. You can easily get rid of the layer of background 2 by selecting it, clicking on the little bin icon, press yes to get rid of that, and here we go, we only have the layers that are related to our final selection, our final outcome. I would strongly suggest to use layers while working. Not only when you finish your illustration, as I have done in this example, but also while working and creating your graphic. For example, you could use one layer for your background, another one for any kind of surroundings, and one more for your character illustration. Always keep your work organized as much as possible, so you can easily access it and further edit it. So now that you have seen the tools to work with colors and patterns, let's go ahead and practice.